This is the quiet neighbourhood of Emerald Park West, St. Philip, Barbados, just off Highway 6, on the way to 6 Roads roundabout. But on the morning of Friday, September 20th, 2024, that calm was shattered. At 347 Emerald Park West, St. Philip, Barbados, located on the southeast side of the island. What began as a domestic dispute ended in cold-blooded murder, a moment of violent emotion that would destroy 2 lives and shock their community and the nation. You're watching Nexus Shadow Crime Files. Turn down the lights, lock your doors, and remember, sometimes the greatest danger lives within the family. Before sunrise, 1 life had ended, and another had begun unraveling. At exactly 4:55 a.m., a call came in to Barbados Police Control. A domestic dispute. A woman possibly dead. Officers were dispatched to house number 347, Emerald Park West, St. Philip. When they entered, they found 52-year-old Daphne Clarke Thomas unresponsive inside her home. And the only other adult present, her 74-year-old husband. Before sunrise, 1 life had ended, and another had begun unraveling. Emerald Park West is not known for homicide. It is residential, predictable, quiet. The kind of neighborhood where routines matter. And that contrast is what unsettles people the most. Because violence in familiar spaces feels different. It feels much, much closer. Daphne Clarke Thomas was not anonymous. She was a prison officer in the Barbados Prison Service in St. Philip. A woman who worked daily in an environment built on structure, discipline, and control. Prison officers operate inside one of the most psychologically volatile institutions in the country. They enforce rules, maintain order, de-escalate aggression. She worked inside Dodds Prison, a facility housing men accused and convicted of serious crimes. Her job required authority, composure, emotional regulation under pressure. Her colleagues described her as structured, professional, well put together. Which makes what happened at 4:55 a.m. even more unsettling. The place she should have been safest, her home, became the final scene of her life. But here's what we must be disciplined about. We do not know why. We do not know what occurred inside that house before police arrived. We do not know what the argument, if there was one, was about. We know only that a call was made. A body was found, and a husband was hospitalised. In any homicide investigation, the public sees very little of what investigators actually process. What happens behind the scenes? Scene preservation, blood pattern documentation, toxicology screening, autopsy examination, digital device extraction, call log analysis, neighbour interviews. None of those forensic details have been publicly released. What happened between the moment that call was placed and the moment officers entered remains inside an investigative file. Whitfield Rudolph Thomas, 74 years old. Not a young man, not someone in the chaos of youth. A man in the later decades of his life. A husband of many years. After police arrived that morning, he was transported for medical attention after reportedly ingesting a poisonous substance. That detail matters because it suggests something significant, whether panic, whether remorse, whether shock, whether something else entirely. Whitfield Thomas appeared in District C Magistrates Court. He was not required to plead. That is standard for indictable offences. His attorney, Rashid Belgrave, requested protective custody at Dodds Prison. Why? Because Daphne Thomas worked there. And in closed institutional environments, perception can carry consequences. Magistrate Joyanne Clarke remanded him to Dodds Prison until October 28, 2024. No plea, no trial yet, no verdict. Now we approach the most difficult part of this case. Not legally, humanly. What could happen inside a decades-long marriage that ends at 4:55 a.m. with one partner dead? Notice what we are not doing. We are not assigning motive. We are not repeating rumors. We are not inserting betrayal or infidelity without proof. But we are allowed to acknowledge this. Long-term domestic homicides often do not erupt from nowhere. They often build quietly, behind doors, behind routine, behind familiarity. If there were warning signs, they are not yet public. If there were disputes, they are not yet documented in court, and until that evidence is presented, anything else is narrative, not fact. Under the Offences Against the Person Act, Chapter 141, murder is defined as the unlawful killing of another with malice aforethought. Intent matters. If convicted, sentencing options include life imprisonment, or, in rare qualifying circumstances, the death penalty. Since 2018, death is no longer mandatory. Judicial discretion applies, but that determination rests on evidence, and we have not seen it yet. What evidence will prosecutors rely on? Was there forensic confirmation of cause of death? What did the 4:55 a.m. call actually report? Who made it? What timeline will digital devices reveal? Was there a history documented anywhere? These are not accusations. These are procedural questions. And they matter. Because murder is not decided by emotion. It is decided by proof beyond reasonable doubt. If you were sitting in that high court, if you were presented with the forensic file, if you saw the autopsy results, if you heard the emergency call, if you examined the evidence personally, what would convince you? And if you were her mother, or her son, what would justice look like? This is Nexus Shadow Crime Files, where we examine the shadows carefully and let the evidence speak for itself. Like and subscribe, and stay with us as these case files unfold.